Eagles at 2-0. We're coming off of a win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Deeds with a really good question here before we get to that one. Besides the Bengals, what 2-0 team is likely to miss the playoffs? Deeds, that sounds like a segment. So we're going to do the NFL recap thing here. Going to go through, because, oh boy, the thoughts I have ready. But after that, we'll hit the thing and we'll get to that because that's a really, really good question. And we'll run through that one. I'm going to tell you now, the Eagles will not be included in that, as they are 2-0 coming off of a win over the Kansas City Chiefs. And this one, minus spitting and minus some issues with the weather and whatnot, this one kind of followed a similar script to Dallas, where they're able to run the ball, the defense comes up with big stops when they need to, and they're able to escape with a victory. There are going to be a lot of shows today talking about Jalen Hurts and under 100 yards passing. What Chris Jones, was saying to him at the in victory formation, where he was saying under 100 yards passing. It's like, hey, got the W. And I think everyone just needs to just deep cleansing breath on the Jalen Hurts discussion. He's excellent. Is he going to win football games throwing for 400 yards? Not many. I would say he hasn't really had to yet. You know, like they were down at points in this game, but not in a way where they needed to throw the ball all over the yard or deviate from the game plan in any meaningful way. And same with the Dallas Cowboys. That defense wasn't stopping a thing that they were doing, so why did they need to go to another level? There were some throws that Hurts missed that you would like him to not miss. That would be fantastic, again. But overall, he is doing exactly what he needs his team to do, or what his team, needs him to do. It is get the ball to the guys when they need to, and on third down, when everyone kind of has their attention elsewhere, make them pay and run for that first down. He is such a good runner. He is so smart, very good reads across the field, excellent athlete. There is so much there with this guy that I'm not going to criticize the 2-0 quarterback of the defending Super Bowl champions. It just feels like a thing I probably shouldn't be doing. Saquon Barkley, it wasn't the same blowaway day as yesterday, or as last week, but, I mean, the dude's awesome, right? A.J. Brown gets a little bit more involved. Devontae Smith making a couple huge plays. He is one where if he went to a different team, like he's the number one receiver on a few different NFL teams. Certainly the one across the field from my goodness, he's the number one receiver on that Kansas City Chiefs team. But this was the Eagles stepping up both on offense and defense and making the big plays when they needed to as this one rolls along. So the Eagles are still the Eagles. They're still the Super Bowl champions, and they just have so many ways that they can beat you. And now, of course, a first-round draft pick, or not first-round draft, but a high draft pick from Georgia is coming up with big plays as Mukuba comes up with a couple of big moments. I believe he had a sack and an interception in that game, or forced a turnover anyway. So, of course, the Eagles, another young, exciting player that is going to come in and make an impact for that team. But I think the bigger story here, because it's like, okay, the Eagles won, they look good. Maybe we can panic about their quarterback, but have we seen anyone that is going to make them worry right now? Because I don't. The bigger issue is on the Kansas City Chiefs side, as they now sit at 0-2. And understanding that there are injury problems and their number one receiver is suspended at the moment, it was obvious this team was a playmaker short, right? At least one playmaker short. Hollywood Brown had a couple of nice moves on the sideline, but they needed some big plays in the run game, and they didn't really get them. And that is where we're going to do, again, our kind of overreaction check-in for week number 2. That'll be the last time, I promise. But I'm leaning towards I was wrong on Isaiah Pacheco. Now, it's a couple good defenses in a row that he's played, but they needed him to make a couple big plays in this football game, and it just wasn't there. Same thing with Kareem Hunt. They just didn't have the guys making the plays when they needed to. Thornton was able to get deep down the field and open and come up with a very important play to keep Kansas City in it, but like Travis Kelce fumbles the ball. And a lot of it, again, is Patrick Mahomes having to ad-lib and make some really good plays. I think anybody criticizing Mahomes or I guess just Mahomes in this case is really missing the point. I thought the first couple weeks, he has looked like Patrick Mahomes again, right? Like he is doing everything in his bag of superpowers to get this team across the finish line and using his legs a lot and running and making some big time plays in that and making some very good throws. It's just the guys he's throwing to aren't able to get separation, aren't able to get open, aside from a bit of a busted coverage on Thornton down the middle of the field that leads to a touchdown. But aside from that, like, I don't know what else Mahomes can do. Aside from, I forget who it was. Was it Giselle? When her and Brady were still her and Brady, and there was the tweet that she sent out that Brady can't catch the balls too. Like, unless Mahomes has figured out a way to throw the ball to himself and then run, which if anyone could do the Mr. Perfect, throw it downfield and catch it yourself, it would be that guy. But I don't know what else he could do. And I don't think the defense played particularly poorly in this game. It's just that's what the Eagles can do to teams. But it is so obvious that this team needs at least one more playmaker. And they are going to get a couple of them back in the next little bit. And you look at the schedule. Up next is the Giants. If they lose that one, then it's alarm bells everywhere, right? They should win that game. They have, I think it's the Ravens after that, then Jacksonville and the Lions. So there are tests. There are absolutely tests in there, but there are also some very winnable games. And this one against the Giants now should be the game that gets them back on track. So the Kansas City Chiefs, though, it is obvious that there are some problems there. And again, talking about what wasn't addressed in the offseason, I would suggest to you that the offensive line issues that we thought maybe were addressed because of the hype that we were getting about the kids they drafted on the offensive line, that hasn't panned out so far. They had troubles protecting Mahomes against the Chargers, and they had trouble in creating any kind of openings in the run game for Pacheco and for Hunt here against the Eagles. It is not a gigantic bing bang boom or anything like that, but it's a concern right now. There are definitely red flags all over, and especially when you look at, and we'll talk about them in a little bit, you look at how good the Bills look, you look at how good the Baltimore Ravens look, and then on the other side, you look at how good the Eagles are playing football right now, and what the Lions looked like. This is not going to be a season that Mahomes and the Chiefs can just kind of play with their food and then make it in. That there are real significant challenges to the Kansas City throne right now. So a few alarm bells going off after week number 2 for Kansas City.